love my friends back at Salesforce. But there is a different type of energy and talent that we attract at GitHub. And that was noticeable right from day one. And maybe it's that post startup energy, right? Like when I started 4 years ago, there were, just still exiting that startup phase, and Microsoft had just acquired them. But there's just that extra energy and that extra sharp talent and that extra passion. And so that was amazing right out of the gate. And then the other thing, so this is the fun part about moving from old tech, Adobe, right? Started in the 80s in the Bay Area. It's been around forever. Like headquarters, people are still wearing collared shirts and pressed pants, and like it's a little more, there's some class to Adobe, which I loved. And there's, and it's artistic and everything. So like it's such a great vibe there. But then I come to GitHub and it's like, anything goes. Our quarterly business reports, my first one that I saw there, riddled with emoji and Giphies. And I'm like, what is happening?
Wow. QBR, right?
Like, that's amazing. And I have found my people. Like, I am home. It's so good. When I'm interviewing people at work to come work at GitHub and they ask me, like, what's one of your favorite parts? It's always like, oh, we use emoji in our reports. Like, if we ever stop doing that, I'm out. Like, I'm done.
I have a fun story. I have to interject here. I find it hilarious because I got chewed out, and he's a good friend of mine now, but I got chewed out by our director of engineering at a company I worked for because I'd put emojis in my commit messages, and then they'd show up in GitHub, and then he would be going through fixing stuff, and he'd be like, why am I seeing smiley faces, bananas, and all kinds of things in here?
What's his name?
Oh, his name's Irvin, and he's
Irvin. Emojis for the win.
I'm going to play this for him when I go over to his house later tonight.
That was the point. Yeah, we definitely, as a culture, we really value a couple things. We value transparency. We do as much work as possible, to the point where we're not trying to generate crazy amounts of noise, but as much as possible, we work in issues. Like everybody can see as we're pulling our quarterly plans together or our roadmaps, like all the sausage making, most of it is right out there in the open. And I love that, because then if you need to loop someone in, it's not like this big email thread with forks and maybe I forgot the right person on this line. Like, no, it's a URL. Just send the URL. Done. But yeah, so just that sense of being yourself at work, like the way I like to talk about it, and I've totally stolen this from GitHub. I coined the phrase, but it's because this is how we work at GitHub. Like, we are dead serious about the work that we do, right? Like, we focus, we have drive, we've got deadlines and commitments and like on it. And we freaking have hella fun while we're doing it. Like, we relax, we smile in meetings, we talk to each other. I think, and this was really interesting because I went to GitHub way before the pandemic started, right? And GitHub is a remote first company. They started in San Francisco. They favored global deployment or global workforce, a distributed, model of working, and they all worked remote first, not remote friendly, but remote first. If you were in an office, then you had to get on a virtual call with somebody, everybody was virtual. There was no like, oh, we're, some are in the conference room and some are like, nope, everybody's virtual. Like, level it. This is how we communicate, and we make space for people to respond on comment, on issues and pull requests, like, because they're working in Germany, not in the United States, right? Like, that kind of thing was really important from the get-go. So that like helped us coast a little through the pandemic because we already had that down. And coming through it, like even with Microsoft coming in, like, our jam is, hey, Microsoft, work like us.
And we're not going to be like you. You're going to be like us.
Just right. Like you got it.
Emoji.
Yes, emoji.
That's awesome.
Brooke, did I answer the rest of the question? I feel like I left it hanging. What was
the
rest of it?
No, you did. It was just sort of like,
I was just enjoying the
kind
moment.
of the weight of working at such an important company that manages all of these big repos and things. But I think you did. I think you got it.
There's one cool thing. I don't know if everybody realizes this. 2 years ago, we took a snapshot of all of our repositories that we host, and we banked it in the Arctic Vault in Antarctica, so that should the apocalypse happen or whatever, like we can kind of reboot technology up from at least the year 2020.
Okay.
It had some code in there. I'm one of those contributors.
Yeah, nice.
I was going to say, if you look at GitHub, you will have a stamp if your code made it to the vault.
I was like, what the heck is this one day? And then I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yep.
I hope it never is needed, especially
we all do. Like
right? Some terrible code, but like,
like, can I just pull that part out? Can we erase that commit?
But who knows? Maybe it'll be useful for historians. You know what I mean? Like
archaeology for the win.
This is how they grew in their primitive computer skills.
Exactly.
All right. This is the fun part here then.
All right, let's go.
We want to know the secrets. Give us the dirty on GitHub.
Oh, let's see. I mean, I already told you what our reports are like. I don't know, like dirty. There
may not be. I'm just joking, but
no. I'm sure there is. Like, there's just so much more that I'm proud of. Like, one of the things, like right now, we have we call it GitHub Gives, and every year we have this huge drive. Like I mentioned before, GitHub is very socially driven. They're socially conscious. So we do make space, not just for donations and making that fun and making an event every year, but just even in our day-to-day, we a lot of places have communities of belonging or employee resource groups, but I think the work that they do to drive our culture and help us be better humans in general, not just better humans at work, but just be more inclusive and accepting of each other. That's personally my favorite part. So there are some fun stories coming out of that. There is, and they're just events, right? Like I'm remembering the Octogatos. So Mona, right? Mona is our mascot. She's a cat head with an octopus set of, am I being brand specific? How many tentacles does she have? I can't remember. But anyway, so Mona is amazing. So everything at GitHub is either Octo for the octopus part, or we talk about like octo kittens for when people have babies. And so anyway, the Octogatos, who is our Latinx group, employee resource group, they had a spicy food competition or something, and then they've had salsa cook-offs, and they open it up to the company. I'm old school too, right? And I already told you I love music. We had Peppa from Salt and Peppa. Which group sponsored that? She came and did like a whole jam session with us. That was amazing. Some of our all hands parties, they will bring on musicians after the thing. We have like what we call the after party, and every one of them though does music by code. So they're like live coding, and it's generating music, and everybody's jamming, or sometimes like they're chill and we're piecing out and doing work on the side or something like that. That's another fun practice of ours. What else is there? Like some of the dirt. Let me think. Let me get back.
That's all right. That was awesome. I actually put that in the notes, the socialimpact.github.com.
Yeah.
So y'all go check that out. I saw some amazing stuff on there. And I love, so something for me personally is I want to only work at companies from now on. And I can be choosy, and I'm very grateful and fortunate and lucky for this. But I can be somewhat choosy about where I work. And so I refuse to work anywhere that isn't doing something good for the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, like, businesses have to make money, but they don't have to make it in bad ways. And they should be giving stuff back to the community. So when I saw, 5 million donated by GitHub employees, I was like, holy crap, thank you. Thank you for making the world better.
GitHub match is $15,000 every year per employee. So if you donate up to 15,000 something, they will match it. It's amazing. Well,
and I have to say, because I do work for Cisco, that theirs is 25,000. So GitHub, got to get up there.
Thomas, You and I are gonna have some words.
Y'all are awesome, and we use GitHub, so therefore you can add us together. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I love that though. So on that note though, because not only is GitHub doing a lot to contribute and give back, but one thing that I really am curious about and want to know more about, not just because I want to get more into this space myself, but I think what you're doing is really important. So, and what I'm referring to is what I talked about way back at the beginning. I said that you are a life and tech coach for women.
Yeah.
And super important stuff. But thank you, first of all.
Yeah,
you know,
bet.
as a woman in tech, I think there's not enough of this going on. I am definitely the product of having good mentors. And if I hadn't have had my mentors, I wouldn't have made it. So
mentors and sponsors for the win. Shout out to all mine.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So tell us more about, I'm curious, first of all, how you got into it. Like, how did you get certified to do this life and tech coaching? But then tell us more about what exactly you're doing with it.
Yeah. So this actually started when I knew you, right? I was working at Adobe. I was a senior manager, almost made director there. I worked my way up to running 5 teams. I left just shy of my 5-year anniversary and the promotion, which it was on deck, but then GitHub came knocking. So I was like, okay, let's go. But yeah, so when I was living in Utah, had little kids, I'm like going to get choked up here. I was working a lot, like stupid hours. I wasn't around for my family. I was burning out. I was frustrated at work. There were some big things happening that just were really frustrating. And I burned out so hard for me. Like, I know everybody's got their different levels of burnout, but I mean, I remember going months without smiling, without calling my family, without getting together with friends, like months. It was ridiculous. Actually, is part of the reason why I moved to Hawaii. We took a vacation. I needed a vacation, right? We came to Hawaii. The talk started slightly before that, but in planning the trip to Hawaii and thinking about moving, actually, no, let me back up. The whole point of us even starting to think about moving was to get the promotion. They were discussing that I would likely need to relocate to the Bay Area as a director. And I was like, oh, that's really cute, but I don't want to live in the Bay Area. So thank you. No. But like I mentioned, I'm from the Northeast. I don't like the cold. I was living in Salt Lake City. I'm like, getting out of the snow, like, yeah, let's go. I'm all up for that. So partner put in resumes around, got a job offer in Hawaii. So we were already thinking of moving to Hawaii. We were planning vacation to Hawaii. And again, I'm burned out, incredibly burned out. And I just couldn't figure my way out. I was like, I have faith. I have a wonderful family. I am healthy. I am gainfully employed. What is my problem? Why can't I snap out of this? And I was like, do I need therapy? Do I need drugs? Like, what's going on? Like, this is nuts. And I came to GitHub. GitHub has a $2,000 a year, they call it a learning stipend, and you can spend it on whatever you want. Like, no mother may I go to this conference. They're like, you have money, just go. Right? And it refreshes every year. And every year, everybody's like, what do you spend your money on? Oh, I forgot to spend my money. Like, what are you doing with it? And happened to me. And one of the guys I worked with was like, oh, what are you talking about? I spent all my money on a coach. And I'm like, a coach? What the hell are you talking about? What's a coach? Like, I mean, I know what a coach is, but like, how does that work? Anyway, so long story short, he hooked me up with Jen. Shout out to Jen Akulian, best coach ever. And slowly but surely, she just started to unwind all these things for me and help me understand what the source of my burnout really was. It was me, right? Like, I wanted to blame the world. I wanted to like point to all these circumstances and all these problems. And I would come with all these stories and all these reasons. She's like, tell me one fact out of anything that you said there. And I'm like, didn't you listen to me? Here's all the facts. She's like, I could be in the same situation, promise you, I could interpret it differently. Therefore, not a fact. It's like, what? Are you crazy? That's intense. That's mind bending. Anyway, so fast forward many months of going